Today, we're going to talk really briefly about pursuing a career in the music industry. We're going to jump right into this with point number one: realize your dreams by visualizing them first. Man, it all starts with a vision, because ultimately when you know where you want to go, it's easier to map out the directions to get there. You can focus, you can visualize, and you can manifest, this vision into a reality down the line. So this is a really good way to start. Moving on to number two is analyze your career motivations. What motivates you to actually, get up out of bed and do this? And ultimately, there's two types of motivation. There's, internal motivation, and there's external motivation. External motivation is, if I don't get out of bed, I'm going to get in trouble. If I don't go to school, I'm going to get in trouble. That's not the most solid form of motivation, obviously. Internal motivation is when you, inside yourself, have this passion to want to do something. And when you're fired up internally, man, there is nothing to stop you. So you've got to find what you're passionate about, and you've got to pursue that, man, because ultimately that's what's going to put a lot of fire under your butt. Number three is develop a realistic outlook. So Sid, why don't you jump on this? Having a realistic outlook about where you're trying to go is extremely important, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and I mean, like, your idea, you got to start big. You think as big as you can, and then you need to realistically understand how you're going to get there. How am I going to be able to get there? You don't have $1 million. You're not going to spend $1 million. You're going to have to figure out how you're going to get there and be realistic about it. How much you can afford, who you know, how you're going to work with different people. I mean, you really have to think that through in order to be successful.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and take the next one as well. The next one is pay your dues, but also use your head as well. What talk about that. What does that mean to us with regards to pursuing a career in the music industry?
I mean, paying your dues sometimes means doing a show for free, or maybe even 2 shows for free, but don't let them take advantage of you. Don't keep doing it for free. You gotta know your worth. You have to earn your keep. So
absolutely.
You want to make sure that you're moving forward in a way that makes sense.
Absolutely. Let's move on to the next one. I'll take this. Expect the worst to happen so that the worst won't seem so bad. This is a funny quote, man, because it's pretty much like, shit's going to happen, just like the bumper sticker says, and when it does, you can't like freak out and trip out and go, I should have gone to med school. It's just like, shit is going to happen. So be prepared for it, so that when it does happen, you're just like, this is the game, man. This is the game. All right, moving on. Let go of your fears and just go for it. There's still a lot of people today, man. It's crazy, that are afraid to actually release their music on Spotify. They're afraid of the feedback they're going to get. They're afraid of what of being judged, and people saying, you're not that good. And I think they're afraid of the reality that maybe they aren't that good. So as a result, they don't put themselves out there and don't release. But this is stupid, man. You guys got to, you just got to let go of all those fears, man. And you've got to let fear cook for you rather than fear burn you. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next one real quick, Sid, which is create the clique of the future. What does that mean for you with regards to pursuing a career in the music industry?
Well, the early adopters, the new people, the people that you come up with, that's your clique, your band. In the future, those guys may be in different places and may be helpful, for what you're doing in the future as well. Maybe you start out playing, in a band together, and that guy goes to law school and becomes a lawyer. That's part of your clique now. Maybe, you're hanging out with folks, and there's one guy who really loves TV and is studying composing, doesn't really become a composer, but maybe he becomes like a music supervisor, and you're his first go-to guy because he loves you already.
Absolutely. It's important to nurture these relationships on the grounds, because 10, 15 years from now, man, if everyone's in the industry, that's going to be your clique, and these people are going to be willing to help you. Let's move on to to the next one, which is nurture new opportunities while you're already on the job. You know, this one means a lot to me because essentially what it means is don't look for a gig when you don't have a gig. Look for the gig while you already have one. You know, what does this mean to you?
That's exactly what it means. It means when you're already cooking, you got to start looking and expanding. You need to get bigger. You know, you can't do that from nowhere, from nothing. You have to start, you know, small, build up, and keep moving. Don't stop.
Right, absolutely. And use the opportunities you currently have to actually do that building, right?
Leverage those
good
opportunities.
stuff. Absolutely. Leverage is the key word here, I think. The next one is climb through back windows when front doors are not opening. You know, a lot of times people like, you know, they just bang on that front door and it's just like, let me in, you know, let me in record company, let me in publishing company, you know, and they don't realize that there's sometimes more of a finesse to this. You know, going around that back door, maybe forming relationships, you know, kind of outside of the realm of the music industry. You know, sometimes this is the way to get in. You know, for example, this is crazy. As a professional drummer, you know, boom, you're like auditioning for the big gigs, you're talking to the big managers and things of that nature. But it's funny, now that I have a lot of music industry contacts and I work as a professor and as an author, I have more contacts to make it as a drummer than I did when I was a drummer. Because when I was a drummer, I was going boom, right to that front door, you know, boom, 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 let me in. And now, of course, I have all these relationships, you know, that are more finessed, you know, and so you have to think this way. It's very, very important. Moving on to the next one, adapt to change by diversifying yourself. You know, this is really, really important because the world is changing, and especially with technology, it's going to continue to change, and you've got to stay abreast of it. You got to keep knowledgeable. You got to keep up to date. You got to go to seminars and conventions and keep on learning. You also have to, you know, think about expanding, you know, so, you know, thinking about what you do and then being able to offer other things as well and other products and services. So you're not just one dimensional. I think that's extremely important with regards to succeeding in the music industry today. Let's move on to the next one. Sid, you take this one. Be practical about money. Be practical about money by keeping it and making it grow. So, you know, man, when the money comes in, it's not always going to keep on coming in. So, you know, you gotta think about investing. What are your thoughts here?
When the money starts to come, you know, you've already spent a whole bunch of money. You need to sit back and watch your money grow a little bit. Don't go out right away and buy the biggest house you can find. Don't go out there, buy every guitar at Guitar Center. Be practical about it. What do I need? What's going to help me to get to the next level? And work it that way until you have more money than you really need. And it's still probably smart to be practical because just like you just said, it's not going to last forever. It typically doesn't last forever. Let's put it that way. And if you can make a whole lot of money being a one-hit wonder and you don't have another song, you could literally have a career that lasts forever pretty much.
You handle money smart. Jay-Z once said, don't buy it unless you can buy it twice. So let's move on to the next one. Maintain control in the face of drugs and alcohol. And this is for you.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of people go down because of drugs and alcohol. Even a kid that I got signed, you know, OD'd on heroin. And it's sad to see that, but you gotta know your limits, you know, and that comes with drinking and anything else. Anything that puts you and makes you vulnerable, you got to limit that. You got to either not do it or not do it today or not do it in this situation. You can't let it take you down because it will if you just think that it's not important.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Let's move on. Finally, the last one, I'll go ahead and take this. Remember that finding your passion is a blessing. So I'll say that again. Remember that finding your passion, your love of music, something that you would jump out of bed in the middle of the night, you know, to grab a pen and paper and start writing down a rap, let's just say, for example, is an absolute gift. You know, you have something that you fell in love with, something that drives your life. So always hold on to that, because when the things, when the going gets tough, you know, you gotta focus on that, your love and passion and music first and foremost, and that's going to help you to go the distance.